Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. Happy October. It is already October 2nd. Who knows how that happened? I am so excited to have you here today for Freelancer Live with Tamika Lawrence. I always get on 1 minute early. As you know, it's 1:59, but I got on a little later than 1 minute early today because I actually had a connection issue. So here we are. I'm going to go ahead and pin a comment of my guest today. She will be on any moment, I am sure. There she is. I'm so excited. All right, we'll wait a couple more minutes for some people to get on. I'll let you in a second, Tamika. I'm so excited. I'm so looking forward to chatting with you. Happy Friday. This week, this year, everything has been insane. So I hope anyone joining me today can, take a deep breath and take a second and just maybe disconnect from all the ridiculousness going on in the world today. This week, oh my gosh, it's been madness. There, we've got a couple people joining. You are welcome to join anytime you'd like, Tamika. You can go ahead, and when you enter, there should be a little button for you to click to join me. Hello, everyone. It's so nice to see all of your handles popping up today. There we go. I'm so excited. I know you'll be in here in a moment, Tamika, but I was just telling Drew, my husband, I'm so sort of nervous to talk to you because you're so darn incredible at literally everything you do. I've been just sort of nervous, which is so funny. He was like, it's like a performance, those nerves you get before. Okay, I got your request. I don't know why it took forever. It's letting you in. Hi.
Not at all. Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. You look fantastic as always.
Oh, thank you. So do you. You look beautiful.
Oh, thank you. How is your Friday going so far?
It's a wild day. I didn't get a lot of sleep last night just because of everything that was going on. It felt like a little bit, it was like, can you feel a brand new day? Just the validation that, something is real, but then it's also like we have to stay focused and, not be distracted from what is actually going on, and that is voting. So yeah, just shooting some projects to help get the word out about voting. And so I'm so grateful to be talking with you now.
Yay. Awesome. I love that. And I was just thinking before, I was like, I almost want you to just this whole time just give some PSAs to the world. You've been doing so many and they're so good. Everything that you've been saying on your stories and your series, really, really incredible stuff. So let's start with the PSA. Vote. Definitely vote and vote Biden.
Yes.
100%.
Yeah. It's been kind of crazy, hearing sort of the laws and loopholes that people have to maneuver around because government funds, you can't, if you're an organization, you can't promote any particular candidate. You just can only say vote. And I think, though I understand why, I just think it's so incredible that as a country, never before have we been like, please God, vote,
yeah.
like Mad Max,
Yeah. Oh my God.
Vote. But we can't, organizations, big organizations can't exactly say for who or for why, for what's happening. So yeah. I feel like on a smaller level, I'm just trying to do whatever to be more specific because
yeah.
larger entities can't. So, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you for that. And I just watched your latest It Be Like That episode just before this and watched about the clothing and voting, which is also something I didn't even know or realize. So yeah, before we get started, can you, or more started than we already are, and I read your amazing bio, can you just mention a little bit about what you just shared earlier today with the clothing?
Yeah, so funny enough, there are 10 states in the United States that have specific laws, including New York, which is mind-boggling to me. where you cannot wear any political garb when you're at the polls. So you can't have Trump on there, you can't have Biden, you can't have Warren, and it's like buttons, stickers, socks, shoes, hats, anything that is even like kind of, so like a MAGA hat, a made you look not MAGA hat, like anything, Black Lives Matter even,
Yeah.
anything that is related to something that is quote unquote political, you cannot wear it to the polls in New York, New Jersey, Vermont, South Carolina, Tennessee, Kansas. I'm missing like 4 that are on the list. But as a precaution, California, as a precaution, none of us should wear political garb at all, because no matter what state you're in, because, you know, we don't need any, first of all, there's probably going to be lines and lines and lines at the polls, and we don't want any reason to be turned away or not able to cast our ballot.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Thank you for looking that up and posting that, because I also feel like so many people are so involved in the political space this year that their first thought would be, let me wear some piece of apparel to show my support of whichever party I'm going to be voting for. So especially knowing that, and like you said, the lines are going to be insane. Chances are the lines are going to be insane, that like you get up to cast your vote and you can't. So
yeah,
that is so important to know. Oh my goodness. Well, let me give you a formal introduction and a formal welcome here today. Thank you for joining me, Tamika.
Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to chat with you. I was just like, I just posted a video like a half an hour ago of you doing that amazing riff in, or amazing part in Dream On. And I was just thinking about how long I've actually known you. I feel like it's way longer than I expected. It's been so many years. You're so incredibly talented. It's been a pleasure to watch you through the years doing all of the things you're doing. So welcome everybody who's here today. This is my guest, Tamika Lawrence. And I'm going to read her bio for you because it's like ridiculously impressive. And then we'll get into some more conversation, probably a little bit of voting and potentially politics again. Who knows? Who knows where this will go today? But this is Tamika Lawrence. She's a 2-time Grammy winning artist, songwriter, and Broadway film and TV actor, and the founder of ReadySetWear Apparel, which is amazing. Her Broadway credits include Getting the Band Back Together, Come From Away, Dear Evan Hansen, the virtual cast, Beautiful, If Then, Matilda, and The Book of Mormon. Her off-Broadway credits include Hercules at the Public Theater, Rent, and The Tempest at the Public Theater. Her television, there we go. Television credits include Modern Love, The Last OG, The Wiz Live, Vinyl on HBO, Show Me a Hero on HBO, Blue Bloods, and Law and Order SVU. And her movie credits include The Greatest Showman, White Girl, and Breakable You. Welcome.
Thank you.
So impressive. I would love for you to start just with just about the story of you. Like, how did you get to where you are today? Where did you come from? All of that fun stuff, whatever you want to share.
Yeah, first of all, I feel like I'm only here by the grace of God, because I feel like I'm just a fraud and nobody's found out yet. So let me say that first.
Oh my God, that is not true. You're not a fraud. No imposter syndrome allowed.
A little bit. I was born in Ohio, but I was raised in Phoenix, Arizona, and went to college out there, went to the University of Arizona. I started in the Conservatory of Music, and then the program started switching around, and it just wasn't what I wanted to do. Things were crazy, so because I had done a couple of shows in high school, I thought, well, maybe I'll try musical theater. It's funny, you know, looking back on it, when you're a kid, like when you're 18 years old and you're like, I'll just make a career choice difference. That's fine. Like, yeah. You know, maybe I'll do this. But they very graciously let me in because I had a lot to learn. That audition was boo-hiss, but they let me in, and I went through 4 years of intensive training and came out as a super senior. Did 5 years. Spent some time on a cruise ship, entertaining on a cruise ship, and then I moved to New York almost 10 years ago, and have been working consistently, thank God, since then. And then I met you and your lovely husband because we were in a band called The Sleigh. And I miss that band.
Yeah, it was so good.
Yeah, it was. And it was so much fun. And so shout out to Drew.
Hi, Drew.
Hi, Drew.
He's hanging out on here.
Yay! Hi. Yeah, I've been putting out music and just trying to. I've always tried to just create art that moves me or tries to tell a story, to try to blend music. Well, I mean, that's what musical theater does, but to take more mainstream, I guess, ideas of music and blend them with theater to have something that I guess is a little theatrical and meets in the middle. I think that's my mission. And since the pandemic, I've been very passionate about just kind of just calling people on the crap, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
No matter what that looks like, whether it has to do with Black Lives Matter movement or women or voting or politics versus what's politics versus human rights. And so I have a lot of time on my hands. And so I've gotten into filming and editing and learning that, and then trying to have an apparel line that also questions, or hopefully has people question what are we saying? What are we saying? What do we mean? How do we want to walk through the world? So that's it. That was long-winded.
No, not at all. I mean, I'm sure there are like 1,000 also other little stories or things you could have branched off into in your life story to get here. It's incredible. I feel like there are 1,000 things that we could talk about based on what you just said. The transition of performing on Broadway to being in a pandemic, and then what you've been doing during this time, and also starting a business. So let's try to go through all of those in different segments. Let's start with your performance career and how that has shifted due to the pandemic. And I'd love to hear sort of how that process, or what that process was like for you when you got the notice that they shut down Broadway originally for a few weeks, and then how now the date has just shifted and shifted and shifted. What has that process been like for you? I would say sort of on a mental, emotional level.
Mm-hmm. It's been very humbling, and it has required a lot of deep work. So yeah, when we first got shut down, they said it was for 4 weeks. And I was like, even then I was like, that seems not right. And so when they told us that we were shut down until the fall, I think I had a brief moment. But I through prayer and meditation, have tried to be even if I never got to do what I love to do again, I'm very thankful that I got to do it.
Yeah.
And that has made my mind a little more malleable. I still want to do theater, and I still want to, make art and get paid for it.
Yes.
But I think in saying I'm going to fight for what I want to do, but if I never get to do it again, the blessing of having done it is good. I think has helped me kind of stay even keel. Yeah. But it's a roller coaster, there are weeks, especially living alone as well. There are weeks where I'm good and I'm, working on stuff. And then there are weeks where I'm I need to get a job because as you know, being an entrepreneur and starting a business from the ground up is not all glitz and glamour all the time.
Yeah. Flash no glitz and glamour ever.
Yeah, right.
Pretty much.
Right. And it costs money, and it's an investment, and to see a return on that investment is not always immediate. Mm-hmm. And so, I go through weeks of okay, this is getting longer, and do I need to make a complete shift? And then, what does that mean? And not putting my entire self-worth into the fact that my career is on ice, essentially. And also having, and I don't know if this has to do with what you originally asked, but also having come to Jesus moments and saying, and remembering that, okay, since I'm trying to build a platform for just speaking truths, remembering and having a check-in and holding myself accountable and saying, I'm doing this to inform people. I'm not doing this to go viral. Because that's another thing, right? Like we everybody needs a job, everybody needs to work, everybody wants to be profitable and wealthy. And so I'm constantly having to do the inner work too, to say, what am I doing this for, and what are my intentions while I'm being furloughed? So that's kind of been like the emotional juggle I've been working with.
Yeah, it's that. Thank you so much for sharing. And I think the way that you're looking at it is so incredibly important. And what a strong place to come from. Like thinking that you're blessed to have done it, even if it doesn't come back, which is, I think, the scariest thought ever. Like knowing that it might take a long time, right? For it to come back.
It is.
But I mean, it's a great way to look at it. And I think that there are some people that are struggling more than others with these changes and not being able to sort of get past just that feeling of complete loss, which is always there, I think, for anybody, regardless of how they're looking at the situation. But the fact that you've been able to take that and sort of turn that and say, like, what can I do with this? Like, how can I really feel with this so that I can move forward, is really, really powerful. So thank you for sharing that. Of course. I also want to talk a little bit about, okay, so this series, the It Be Like That series that you've been doing, you've already touched a little bit on why you're doing it, and I'd love to hear a little more about that, and also sort of how you've been using humor within those videos and why you're using humor to sort of spread that message.
Yeah. So I originally started doing It Be Like That. Well, I got asked by, I think it was Broadway World, to, and honestly, I'm glad that they went for it. But like, truthfully, I was so sick and tired of the, let's talk about community and Black people. Can you teach us, what it means to like be a racist? And
Oh no.
And it was like, I know it was well intentioned, but it was still asking us to do the emotional work for no pay. So, I got asked on behalf of Carolina Change to do that. And I just thought, excuse my French, I want to say fuck you, but how can I say it without pissing you off and then further hurting my career?
Right.
So I think that's where satire comes in, because I love comedy. Some of my biggest heroes are like, Eddie Murphy and Richard Pryor and Wanda Sykes, and it's just been funny to watch interviews with them and the amount of stuff that they've been able to do business wise, because they're able to like be funny, get your point across, but make it satirical, and then people are laughing with you, but it's like, no, but I mean what I say.
Right. Yeah.
And so that's kind of where It Be Like That came from, and kind of like practicing the stuff. I was in Houston at the time visiting my mom and dad, and kind of practicing satire, the stuff that I had written with them, and being like, because my mom works in retail on the business side, and I was like, so how would you take this? And just like making sure that what I say is received, but it's not too So that's sort of where it started. Does that answer the question?
Yeah. Oh, of course. I mean, you can honestly answer these questions any way you want. I love the direction these go, because they can honestly go anywhere. But I love that. And I also love how you have, I'm sure you already knew you had these talents, but like those videos are so incredibly well done. You are a fantastic producer, director, creator, like songwriter, like all of the things that you've been putting together to create these little episodes are just, it's so impressive. And I love that one of them was like, as you were doing the credits at the end, and you were saying like, this looks self-serving, but like, you deserve credit for the work you're doing. You absolutely do. It really, really is incredible. And I love how you've been able to use this time to sort of explore some of those other talents you have, because you have so many on top of how incredible you are as a performer.
Thank you. I feel like the pandemic has, although it's been like very destructive and really crazy, I'm very thankful, because I think it unlocked something that I was scared to show people. I think that when you're doing a rat race and it's the day to day and you're worried about your savings and your 401k and all that stuff, you're scared to show people certain facets because you've never been hired for that before. I've never been. I mean, people know that I'm weird, but I've never been hired in a show to be really funny, or to be like a straight shooter. I think people's perception of me before the pandemic were very, very different, and I was coasting on that. Sort of like I can scream my face off, and I can quasi act. And so to have the freedom to show more facets and also to not have the fear of falling on my face because I'm just doing it to do it anyway and I'm trying to be helpful, I think it's been very liberating. And that stuff at the end of the credits, I always put my name every single time and I feel like a douchebag doing it, like EP Tamika. But it's funny, every single time myself or another woman puts something out there, and I'm sure you've experienced it too, it's like, yeah, but what guy helped you? Even it be like that episodes, all the time, it's like, so you're doing these by yourself? And I'm like, do you ask a guy that? Because I just feel like you wouldn't. It's automatically assumed. So yeah.
Yeah, I love that, and you should celebrate that. I was actually just talking to Drew the other day about I've been working with this company called We Are Women Owned for a while, and we're currently running a Latina owned pop-up, and there was this call the other day with all of the vendors, and a lot of them were just talking about the fact that they think of themselves a certain way and have for so long. And they weren't like standing in the power of who they were and what they were doing, how they built something on their own, how they were Latina business owners. And it was just like this sort of like getting comfortable with what you're doing and who you are and how talented you are, and like showing the world that it's a process. But once you're able to sort of stand in that power and say like, yes, I did this on my own and no one helped me and I'm freaking talented. It's like, it really is empowering to be able to stand in that and to showcase that. So I'm like, I applaud you for doing that. And I think you absolutely have to continue doing that because like you are talented and those videos are incredible. I mean, everything you do is really, really fantastic. So yeah, I love that you just were like, let me put this in there. I actually did this on my own.
Thank you.
Of course. So now that we're sort of like, we're getting into the realm of what you've been doing during this time that you haven't been able to perform on the stage, I want to hear about your business. First of all, congratulations for starting a business. Yay. Let's give her all of the hearts and claps and love here because like, it's incredible. You started it in the middle of this pandemic, which is so brave. And so tell us a little bit about how you got started with that, how you got the idea. And I know I've watched a lot of your stuff, but also you just mentioned that your mom is in like sort of the retail space, like how she really also supported you and helped you in that process.
Yeah, so while having a Broadway career, there were times where I became like frustrated with the business or just like, man, I'm tired of like being pegged to something. And so one of the outlets, besides being in the sleigh, one of the outlets also was styling friends or styling clients who worked on Broadway, either for their shows or for photo shoots or for whatever, because I really think that there's an untapped market. I think that Broadway is a certain kind of aesthetic and a certain kind of niche, and I think that they're trying to branch out. But I think that there is a really, and Anna Wintour is kind of trying to do that, but I think that there are a lot of ways that fashion can meet stage because it does so well with TV and film. So I started styling people. And I had, because my mom always had me into fashion even as a kid. We didn't have much money, but she would like, look at magazines and like try to like sew something or quasi dressing. And I got dragged by kids because first of all, Arizona's like 10 years behind in fashion. But second of all, like, kids are like, you're not wearing Jordans? What are these?
Yeah.
Versace, what's that? So, not that she was getting me Versace, but just those kinds of looks.
Yeah.
So she's always gotten me into fashion, and so I always wanted to have a clothing line. I've been inspired by that. So when the pandemic hit, I was down and kind of like, what's my existence? What's my purpose now? And my mom called me, and she like very casually, matter of factly was like, hey, so you're unemployed. Here to remind you. Also, you have time now to start your clothing company that you want to do. Also, here's a few YouTube videos on how to do it. So here's a YouTube video on drop shipment and and linking up your graphic design site to, whatever. So
Wow.
here's how to do it. And she was like, it's our business. So, launch it. Because she knows that if she asks me to do something, I'll try to like do it immediately.
Yeah.
So yeah, from March to like June, I worked on first designing things and seeing if I even liked them on apparel, and then getting samples and seeing if the quality is good, if I like them. And then in July, I was like, okay, Mom, we're ready to launch. And she was like, I was just saying that. It's actually your business, but I just said to make it ours so you would do it.
Yay, Mom.
Yeah.
She knew the tricks of the trade.
She is. Rhonda Lawrence is the Jedi mind trick master, for real. Then I launched, and was kind of like, if I sell a couple of shirts a month, whatever keeps my overhead, whatever keeps me like neutral, because, the design apps, the editing apps, like all that stuff costs money. So as long as I can break even every month, I'm fine. And so I think having that goal for right now, I've been doing well, and it seems to be reaching people and touching people, and which is, what I want to do with it. And my aunt actually gave a couple of sayings, like the Just Remember This November t-shirt, that's her saying. And When the Dust Clears, Choose Truth Over Fears, I have another shirt, that one. She actually gave me those ideas. So it feels nice to also incorporate that into the business, and then give my aunt profits, because I feel like then I'm empowering other women to work, even within the family, to like do that. So yeah, that's kind of how it all started.
That's incredible. Wow. Yay, Mom, and yay, Tamika. That's like, that's incredible. And I also feel like this could have gone any direction, but just for you to be in the middle of like losing your entire sort of livelihood and career, and then be able to take this idea and really run with it, and not only run with it, but also create something that's so conscientious and impactful, is really, really incredible. And I'd love for you to explain just a little bit too, given like your clothing line and some of the things that are in it, as well as some of the jewelry, like what is the idea behind some of the sayings on it? Like, why are you going in that direction, and what kinds of things are on your clothing?
So I think the first sort of human rights thing that I made, excuse me, was the I Matter necklace. And I did that because what I had in mind were little kids wearing them, in particular, little Black girls wearing them. Because, growing up as a little Black girl, especially in Arizona, like, man, it's rough. You're told from the very beginning of your life that you are lesser than. And not just a little lesser, you're a lot lesser. And depending on your facial features, your teeth, whatever is, genetically African, the more African you are, the less worth you have. And so I just imagined, a little girl wearing a heart pendant to remind herself that she mattered. And I think that is also what spawned conscious clothing, because I wanted to, I'm like, well, shoot, if I'm just trying to break even, I can make whatever I want and say whatever I want, So that's what spawned, like, trying to make stuff that is like the Love Thy Neighbor or Catch Hands shirt, like, just to be, I think, a little more brazen, to actually like say, I'm all about like saying what you actually mean. And so that's part of conscious clothing. So like that inspires me. What else? To just remember this November, like just to have something on your body to even start conversations with people. about, you know, what's happening. There might be people who are like, what's happening in November? You know, or like there was my friend was telling me today, there was an old lady who was like, there's an election this year. I mean, so a lot of people don't know that it's happening. And so what can I make that are conversation starters, or just like to get people conscious about what's going on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Someone said well, Yumi, she says, I love that shirt. I have to get one.
Oh, yay.
Yay. Yeah, you have to check it out. Tell people where they can find you.
So the clothing company is called ReadySetWear Apparel, and that's the Instagram handle at ReadySetWear, all one word, of course. And yeah, it's an Etsy store. The shipping is quick. The processing of the clothing is quick. So you should get your stuff within like a week and a half. And I've made sure that the companies that I work with to produce the clothing are adhering to COVID standards, and 95% of what is made in the United States, and the other stuff is sourced from Europe. So trying to really make sure that, you know, it's an American store. America.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. People should go check it out. Her stuff is really, really cool, super well designed. Really, really awesome. I love how each piece of clothing has like personality to it. Like you can tell that someone put some thought into it. That's someone being you. But yeah, you can definitely tell. It's really, really great stuff. Of course. Hold on, I lost you first. Lost you for a sec. We're back. Okay, so I would love. I lost my train of thought. I will come back to it. What am I thinking? Oh, I was just thinking about how you've sort of been speaking out about like stimulus for artists and like that whole thing, and the fact that unemployment ran out. Are there still things going on in the hope that I hope you say yes to this, but that people can either donate to, petitions they can sign, or anything on that front that you know of that you can share with us about how to sort of help artists who have lost their jobs?
Yeah, so the main one that I can think of right now is visiting beanartshero.org, because the founders of that organization have put something together called the Dawn Act. And basically that is a petition to get Congress to inject funds directly into theater, music, venues, for artists themselves, in order to keep the industry afloat while it's on pause. So that's probably the number one. I think that one is the most helpful. There are grants out there for artists still that are continuing to happen, or the SBS fund is up from time to time. Sometimes they close it and then they reopen. I think it's reopened again. And they were giving out $1,000 grants, emergency grants to people you don't have to pay back. So if you are an artist and you need some cash monies, I received one of those too, so I know that it works. You can visit the SBS application, government application, and just decline the loan unless you need a loan, and ask for the grant. So I think those are the two.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. And another thing I wanted to ask you about sort of before we close out today is just, I know at the beginning of I would say at the beginning of the pandemic, first when everything shut down, and then especially in June, during this resurgence of the Black Lives Matter movement, there was a lot more talk around Broadway being racist, and also like hopes that that will change in the future. Whatever you want to talk about in this space, feel free. But sort of a question to guide, like, what has it been like for you, if you're willing to share, being a Black woman on Broadway? And then do you think things are going to change when it comes back?
That's a good question. You know, my experience in theater, I think, has not been the experience of a lot of Black women in theater, and so I have to take that into consideration. I've gotten hired to scream my face off, but I've also been able to kind of Zora Neale Hurston route it, where I've gotten to play a lot of roles where the person just happens to be Black. And I think that's because I've been fortunate to work with directors who have sort of thought outside of the box of, you know, just not pigeonholing and tokenizing Black women. I think we're at an interesting precipice right now, because I think, if I can be very frank, I think that there's a lie happening right now that that Broadway, that the producer league, the Broadway league, has created an open space, and we can say and do whatever we want. And I think, so what I see is a lot of people being like, you know, fuck it, Black Lives Matter, let's burn it up. And not realizing that it's still a business, and it's a business that has been guided by a racist principle for over a century. And it's hard to break that down and dismantle it, because people want to hold on to their privilege. And we're not in a position right now to actively act on it. So all they can see is us, people, talking about what we want and what we do. So I think it's still important to have some sort of decorum, just because it's still their house. And we have to make sure that we are, I don't want to say like, don't do the kitchen talk, but we have to make sure that we are still opening up the table to state our needs in a respectful way in order to be able to play the game. There's still a game that we have to play. And I think that there has been a lie that has been going around since the pandemic, in terms of Broadway being like, you know, like, well, we're changing. We're doing this. We're, you know, creating more thoughtful theater or whatever. To me, I will buy that when I see that the money is coming from people of color. Until the Broadway League adds, I think they added like one more Black person and one woman to the Broadway League since this happened. Until the Broadway League gives opportunities to have not silent investors, but major investors who are of color. Because the issue, sorry, and I'll try to be brief. The issue that we're having is that the reason why theater is the way that it is, and the reason why Black people are having to perform a certain way in these spaces, is because the money is white. And when the money is white, they're thinking of the ticket holders. And when they think of the ticket holders they're thinking of are white. They're never people of color. And that's why our theater can only get so far, because then they interject and they say, well, this has to be said in a way so that white people understand it. And then we get frustrated, right? Like you look at theater, and there's always like a side comment of like, let me explain to you, because the assumption is there's only white people in the audience. Very rarely do we have pieces where it's like, we're not talking to you, we're talking to Black people. And there are things that you're not gonna get. Or we're speaking directly to Vietnamese people, we're speaking directly to the Asian American community as a whole. Or just everybody as a whole, but we're not just talking to white people. And so because we have white money at the top that are thinking about the best interests of white people in the audience, we're at an impasse, I think. So nothing for me can really change. Drew said performative social justice. Nothing really can change until we see that the money coming from the top and the decisions that are made from the top are not just coming from white people. To me, everything is sort of performative until that happens. If that does that answer the question? I think.
Yeah, absolutely. That's such a good perspective, and that's so true. That's so true for every organization everywhere, including, of course, Broadway and any performance places. If you do not have people of color or women in positions of power helping to make the decisions, you're not going to see a major change. It can only go so far until you actually have people who are sharing their perspective, their different perspective. I mean, growing up as a Black person in America is a very different experience than growing up as a white person in America. And so if you only have white people at the table, nothing's going to change. There's just simply no way to understand. So it's so important. Thank you for sharing that. Is there anything else that you wanted to say on that front?
Yeah, I also think, and I don't have a popular opinion about this, so I might get, like crucified, but I don't believe in colorblind casting. I think that colorblind casting is the Band-Aid that has been put over this gash that is money and influence only coming from white men in particular. Yeah. I think that because it's like watching the Oscars every other year, right? It's like, well, we did a little more inclusion, but now we need a white year. And I just think that we have to understand, and then people get mad. And yeah. I think what has to be said is that white stories are important to tell. We don't have to spend as much time. If we spent less time trying to insert Black and people of color in white stories and spent more time just making stories and allowing for stories to be told that don't have to be white-splained, yeah. then I think that we could also allow white stories to be told without having the token or the quota people in there. I think that colorblind casting was fine for the 90s and the early 2000s, but I think that we now have to start thinking past that.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I honestly, maybe it is an unpopular opinion, but I don't think so. I totally agree with you. And I think that it's only a popular opinion because that's all that so many people know right now is like, that's the way to get more diversity in the cast. Like but that's not the way. That is absolutely not the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I'm looking forward to when theater and music and all of it comes back, because I want to see all of these plans in action and what it actually means. I think we're doing like this circular holding pattern right now. So, I mean, everybody can say what they want, but we won't actually see it until next year.
Yeah. Oh, and let's just not just hope, but work to make that change happen, because it's absolutely necessary.
Yeah,
for sure. We are getting close to the end here, which is crazy. Every time I do these, the time goes by so fast, and I'm like, oh, I just wish I could keep having these conversations. You have been so incredible today. I so appreciate you sharing everything about your experience through the pandemic, starting a business right now, which is crazy, your experience on Broadway, just all of that. I would love for you to, well, first of all, if you have any yay hi, if you have any general like parting words you want to share, feel free, but then also make sure you mention where people can find you and follow you, both you as Tamika and your business.
You can follow me at I am Tamika Lawrence, Instagram. My clothing company again is called ReadySetWear Apparel. And any parting words? It's a very hard time right now, and social media only shows snapshots, right? Like literal snapshots. And we have been conditioned in social media to appear like we always have it together. And I think it's very important. I love you too, Jason. I think it's very important for all of us to remind ourselves and give grace that, like, man, it's a shit show right now. And it's okay if you barely have it together right now. You are not behind. You are not lesser than. It's just a really hard time right now. And so it's okay to be in that space and accept that you're in that space, but also accept that it will be different. And there's hope on the other side of your vote. So please vote.
Yes. Oh, I love those parting words. That is such an amazing way to end this. Thank you so much, Tamika, for being my guest today.
Yeah.
It was Such a pleasure seeing your face and chatting with you and hearing all about everything you're doing. Once again, make sure to check her out. I am Tamika Lawrence here on Instagram, ReadySetWear Apparel. Check out her series. What is it again? Why did I forget?
It'd be like that.
It'd be like that. My God, my brain. It'd be like that. It is so well done, so well produced, all by Tamika, all on her own because she's incredible. So definitely go check her out. Thank you again for joining my Freelancer Live, Tamika, and everyone else. Have a great rest of your weekend. I'll see you again soon.
Okay, bye.
Bye.